Hello, fifth graders. It's time for lesson 10 in unit 5. So get out your unit 5 packet and open it up to page 13. It should say lesson 10 at the top. And today we're going to distinguish between multiplication or division. This whole chapter has been about multiplying and dividing decimal values, right? So now we have some word problems. See if we can decide, is it going to be multiplication or division, and solve them. So we are going to solve 8 problems together today. All right, letter A, Marcus sails his boat 4.5 miles every day. If he sails for 25 days, how far will he travel in all? So you have to decide, do I multiply or do I divide? So let's think about this. He sails his boat 4.5 miles every day, so every one day, right? And I want to know how many times in 25. So 4.5 would happen 25 times. So my equation, this would definitely be multiplication, 4.5 times 25. So there's our equation. Now we learned when you multiply and you have a decimal in there, that we can kind of just ignore the decimal and multiply like normal to start, right? So I'm ignoring this decimal. Really what I'm doing is I'm moving it over one place to make it 45. And does it matter if I wrote 25 on top and 45 on bottom? No, because of the commutative property. So let's solve it. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 2 is 22. And this is really 45 times 20 now, so I'm going to put my 0 in there. It's a multiple of 10. 2 times 5 is 10. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. And we add them together. 5 plus 0, 2 plus 0, 9 plus 2. Now our answer is not 1,125 because this is 45 times 25, and it's supposed to be 4.5. So now we have to remember what we did. To make this 45, we moved the decimal one place to the right. So in order to undo that, we have to move it one place to the left. It's really at the end here when you don't see it. And when we move it one place to the left, it's right here between the 2 and the 5. So 112.5 miles is what you should have. All right, next, Jeff. Jeff ran 3.6 miles. He took a sip of water every 9/10 of a mile. How many sips did he take? So think about this, like he ran a total of 3.6. So they're giving you the total that he ran, and it's saying he took a sip of water every 9/10 of a mile. So I really want to know, like, how many times does 9/10 happen in 3.6? So how many 9/10 are there in 3.6? This is division. So 3.6 is my total. The total is your dividend that goes inside. And my divisor would be the 9/10 on the outside. All right, so we learned that you can't have a decimal in the divisor. Like you can, but we'd have to draw a picture and it would take forever. So we learned that we can simply multiply the divisor by a power of 10 to make it a whole number, as long as we multiply the dividend by that same power of 10. So I'm going to multiply this by 1 power of 10, which means I have to do the same thing in here. So if I shift this one place right, I have to shift that one place right. So the problem we're really solving here is 9 divided into 36, which is 4. So 4 sips of water for 3.6 miles. Go, Jeff. All right, letter B, again, because it did auto formatting. So this should really be a C, but it came up wrong because Microsoft Word, you know how there's like, you know, the auto correct when you're texting someone, there was an auto correct with the formatting and it didn't do me well. All right, a box contains 1.2 pounds of cereal. A serving weighs 0.08 of a pound. How many servings are in the box? So I tell you how much the box of cereal weighs, and I want to know how many servings there are in the box. Okay, so I want to know how many 0.08 there are in 1.2. 0.08 doesn't happen 1.2 times. I want to know how many 0.08 are in 1.2. That's division. 1.2 is the total number of pounds. That's my dividend. And 0.08 is my divisor. That's what I'm dividing it up by. So with this one, my decimal place is 2 places over. So I'm going to have to move it 2 places right, which means I'll move this 2 places right. And remember, a 0 goes above that empty hop. So I'm going to rewrite this for sure. Otherwise, I would be more likely to make mistakes. So 8 into 120 will give me the same answer as 0.08 into 1.2. 8 does not go into 1. 8 will go into 12 one time, and 8 times 1 is 8. I'm going to put this 8 right underneath the 2, because when we were dividing into 12, that 2 is in the ones place, and that's 8 ones. 12 minus 8 is 4. You didn't have to borrow, right? You don't need to borrow. It's just 12 minus 8. We're good. And drop that 0. 8 times 5 is 40. So that means, oops, after I subtract, I see nothing left, that there are 15 servings in the box. I think that that's probably too small of a serving size, but that's okay. All right. The 5th grade is getting a special lunch. The cafeteria manager is planning to buy 3/10 of a pound of turkey for each student. If turkey's on sale for 79 cents per pound, what will it cost to give the turkey to 100 students? There are 3 numbers here because there's actually, a multi-step thing going on. And we just have to decide, is this multiplication or division? We're kind of going to figure out how much it costs per student, right? And then it's 100 of them. So I am seeing multiplication. Is that what you said? I'm not looking for a group size. I'm looking for a total here. And you have an option because of the commutative property to multiply these in any order that you want. So if the cafeteria manager is planning to buy 3/10 of a pound, you could first try to figure out, well, how many pounds of turkey do we need? And to figure out how many pounds of turkey, you can take 3/10 times 100. Now, before you set this up vertically, I want you to think about this. I am multiplying 3 by a power of 10, right? So there's 2 zeros after this one. Remember, we can just shift this decimal point 2 places right. Every time you multiply by 10, that happens. And if you shift that decimal point 2 places right, put a 0 above my empty hop, you get 30. So basically, we know right now if each student is getting 3/10 of a pound, that we need 30 pounds of turkey. And it says here that each pound is on sale for 79 cents. That means I would have to take 30 times 79 cents because that's how many pounds I need. All right, I wouldn't just multiply it like that. I would ignore that decimal point, and I'm going to write 30 on the bottom. You know why? Because when I have that 0 on the bottom, I can just drop it because I know that 79 times 30 is the same thing as 79 times 3 with a 0 in the ones place. 9 times 3 is 27. 7 times 3 is 21, 22, 23. So I see $23.70 here. It's not $2,370. Okay? If there's only 30 pounds that we're buying and it's less than $1 per pound, this isn't right. Oh yeah, we moved the decimal point 2 places to the right when we made it 79. Now we need to move it 2 places back. So it will be $23.70. All right, we're almost there. Let's turn our page, and if you wanted to, you could try some of these on your own, and just make sure you come back and check it to make sure that it's right, okay? That's the most important thing. Okay, a rectangular garden has a length of 25.5 feet and a width of 9.5 feet. What is the area of the garden? Well, we know to find the area of a rectangle, we do length times width. So we need to solve 25.5 times 9.5, right? So when we're trying to multiply decimals, we ignore the decimals and just multiply the whole numbers to start. I'm going to write the larger number of digits on the top. It's just a little bit easier when you're doing the standard algorithm. And multiply it out. Feel free to pause and press play to check your work. 5 times 5 is 25. And then 25 and another 2, 27. And 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2 is 12. Those are gone. This is really times 90, so I'm going to put my 0 in the 90. 9 times 5 is 45. And 45 plus 4 is 49. And 9 times 2 is 18 plus 4 is 22. So we add them all up. 9, 10, 12, 2, 3, 4. And I get this really big number right here. But this isn't my answer. I need to put my decimal point back. I moved it 1 place to the right to make it 255 and 1 place to the right to make it 95. That means to undo that, I have to go 2 places back because I went 1 right, so I have to go 1 left, 1 left. So 242.25 square feet, or feet squared. That's the answer. The letter F. Kyle spent $27.28 on cookies for a party. Each cookie costs 44 cents, which is the same thing as that 0.44. How many cookies did he buy? So this tells you the total that he spent, and it tells you the cost of each cookie, and we're looking for the other part. So if you're given the total and one of the parts, that means we need to what? Divide. That total that's given is what goes inside. That's my dividend, and the total that's given is the $27.28. And it's being divided not by 44, as you might think. It's being divided by 44 cents. We need that decimal there until we have to get rid of it, right? Now we have to get rid of it. But when you set up your original problem, you need to make sure that you have that, because this is saying $27.28. If you didn't put the decimal there, that's saying that each cookie was $44. It better be one giant cookie. All right, I'm going to move this 2 places because that's what we do when we have a decimal divisor. We shift it so that it's a whole number. And I rewrite 44 into 2,728. And what's super cool is these have the same exact value. So this one's just easier to work with. Okay, 44 will not go into 2. It will not go into 27. It will go into 272. And now you have to take a guess at how many times. So I would say, okay, like, I know that 4 times 6 is 24, right? And so 40 times 6 would be 240. 4 times 7 is 28. And this is more than 40. So I'm thinking we need to go with 6 here. And we'll do 44 times 6 off to the side. 6 times 4 is 24. And I got another 24 plus 2 is 26. And I have 264. That 264 needs to go underneath the 272 because that's what we just divided into. Make sure it's lined up correctly. And we subtract. I borrow, and 12 minus 4 is 8, and 0, 0. Drop down this 8, because it was so lonely up there, and 44 will go into 88 twice. In fact, 44 times 2 is exactly 88. Whoa, pardon me. So our answer here, there's no more digits to drop. 62 cookies. What a guy. He bought 62 cookies for his party. Okay, we're almost there. Last year, 135 cows on Dyson's dairy farm had calves. This year, 6/10 times that many cows had calves. How many cows had calves this year? It's been a fun one to say for me today. So it says 6/10 times that. So that means 6/10 times that, right? 0.6, 6/10 times 135. Let's do it. I personally would put the 135 in the top because it has more digits, and I would ignore that decimal point and make it a 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 3 is 18, 19, 20, 21. And 6 times 1 is 6 plus 2 is 8. Now notice, we multiplied by 6, not 6/10, because we moved the decimal one place, right? Now we need to move it one place back. So I get 81.0, which I wouldn't put as a multiple choice option. I would just say plain old 81, right? We're not going to have like a tenths place when we're talking about the number of calves that were born. And that's the total, 81 calves. Now the question I asked in class today is, why on earth did I just multiply and get something less than what I started with? How on earth does this happen? Well, 6/10 is less than 1, isn't it? If I had 135 one time, I'd have 135. This is saying I have 135 less than 1 time, which is going to be less than 135 if you have it less than 1 time. When you multiply numbers by values that are less than 1, you get something less than what you start with. It just makes sense, right? If not, we'll talk more in class. All right, rectangular patio has an area of 131.52 square meters. The width of the patio is 9 6/10 meters. What is the length? So I give you the area and I'm asking you to find the length. That means division. I've given you the total. So the area, the total goes inside and my width goes outside, and I need to get rid of this decimal point. I'm going to move it one place, one place. So now I have 96, and here I see my 1, my 3, my 1, my 5, my decimal point just moved, and there's my 2. Now I'm going to go ahead right now, so I don't forget, and just float the decimal right up where it's at. When you have a decimal in your dividend, we saw that in class. This is the pattern that takes place. It stays put. And now we can just divide like normal. 96 won't go into 1. 96 won't go into 13. 96 will go into 131. I think just 1 time though, right? Because 90 and 90 make 180, and 131 is less than that. So I'm going to, because this is 131, I'm going to line my 96 underneath the 131, making sure that my 1's places would match. All right, 3, going to borrow from that. 11 minus 6 is 5. I just see this now as 12 minus 9. You could borrow again if you want, but if you borrow from this 1 and make it a 0, this is still 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. 35 is less than 96, so we're in good shape. All right, my next number to drop down is a 5. How many times would 96 go into 355? Well, 96 is close to 100, And 100 would go into 355 3 times. So now I need to do 96 times 3 to see what's right underneath here. 6 times 3 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. So I get 288. And we subtract. I'm going to borrow from my 5, and 15 minus 8, that is 7. I can't do 4 minus 8, so I borrow. 14 minus 8, that is 6. And I still have another digit to drop down. By the way, I know that we chose right with this 3 because 67 is less than 96. Drop your 2. Okay, I know that 100 would go into 672 6 times, but this is less than 100, and this isn't quite 700. So I think this is either going to be 6 or it's going to be 7. I'm going to go with the 7. So 96 times 7. 6 times 7 is 42. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 4 is 67. Yay, it worked. Would I steer you wrong? Never. So 13.7 what? 13.7 meters. That would be the length. And you are done with Unit 5. Congratulations. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.